kill my wife.
If I did it, right.
Whatever.
Yeah, I explained that as
you know what I mean, though? Isn't that kind of odd? I mean...
Yes, but he's also... O.J. Simpson, there's a reason he's in prison right now for 33 years because he tried to, at gunpoint, get his Heisman Trophy back from someone that he had sold it to. He tried to steal it, his stuff.
No, I'm not saying he's a model citizen.
He is a messed up person.
Sure.
And he also was in a position where all his fortune had been taken from him. So if he could get a book deal and write this stupid book, If I Did It, and I could get paid $1 million or whatever it is, knowing O.J. Simpson doesn't surprise me that he would.
What about a couple of detectives that came out after? Because the book was never released, but people did see it and people did get to read it.
I believe I have it on my iPad right here.
There you go. That he stuff in that book that came out wasn't known. That never came out. That was part of the police records. So he did know some stuff that was never released. So that's why I'm saying, like,
he knows who did it. He got the whole story.
There's too many what ifs to really hang your hat and say, this is what happened.
Yeah,
on any side of the fence.
Yeah, I agree. But ultimately, there was a ton of evidence to suggest that Mark Furman guy, he planted evidence. They did not handle that scene correctly. They targeted O.J. Simpson, and then they didn't worry about any other leads that went anywhere.
Even Kato Kalin, I want to say like 6 months ago, had a story how he was saying that things didn't really happen the way that they happened, and he has more because the 20 years had lapsed or the time, whatever was had lapsed. So there's just too many. It's L.A., man.
Yeah.
Brentwood. It's that area, and there's just too many hanger-oners, and there's too much shit.
There's too much shit going on. There's I'm telling you, drugs in that town. If you owe a drug dealer a lot of money, they're gonna come get it, and if you start to get loud, well, then you get your fucking throat slit in your front yard.
That's true.
So.
I do want to put out there later on tonight at the top of the hour, we are going to have a special guest.
Yes, the controversial Luke Hawks.
Luke the Dumpster Drosy, if you will. He'll be on later. I've known Luke since he broke into the business under Vic Grimes, and he used to be this skinny, for a better word, hillbilly kid, let's say. That we all, when I was a punk ass, he was a hillbilly, and we kind of knew each other, and we were not being used together at certain shows, and we kind of buddied up in some random situations, and I've always remembered him for that, and we have this kind of a cool rapport. So to see where he's at today, and to see the shape he's in today, and
he's a totally different guy,
TV ready. I mean, you could put him in anything you want today, and he's TV ready.
The journey of Altar Boy Luke to Luke Hawks is an interesting journey, and I can't wait to kind of pick his brain a little bit and see what the moment was. That's one of my questions. I want to ask him. What was the moment where
he's
you
an
decided?
open book? He's not one of the. You're not going to get like a shitty interview out of him. He's an open book, and he's a good dude.
And he
he's
also hates everything about ECW and all the old ECW.
And yes, it's an angle. It's 100% an angle.
Sure,
but he hates it. They made it an angle because he came out for the first ECW reunion thing that turned into Extreme Rising. And he came out and said, like, this shit has to end. Remember, because they had brought back all the old shitheads, and it was shitty, and he was boisterous about it. Mm-hmm. And that's what got him his push. They're all because they made an angle out of what his true feelings were.
Yeah.
And it's got him everywhere. I mean, even he posts something on Facebook, and it gets like 100 likes.
Yeah, he's super popular. He's got his own promotion down in Louisiana that he's running now, a training school that he runs.
Wildcat.
That guy's been everywhere, too. I mean, he's it's amazing where the locker rooms he's been in, the things that he's done, the things that he's seen. He's been all over the country.
He's a stunt double in movies too.
Yeah,
a lot of people don't know that about him.
Yeah, we're gonna find out all about Luke Hawks coming up in the 9 o'clock hour. We have a bunch of different news bits that we wanted to kind of play, didn't we?
Yeah, but it is the week. It is the week right now
of Thanksgiving.
My
favorite holiday.
Is it really? Why?
Yes, because I love food and I love football and I love Thanksgiving.
But every holiday has food.
No. But I guess in my family, this is the one where like we eat stuff that we don't normally eat. Like,
okay,
we
fair enough. Fair enough.
My mom makes this stuffing. It's like the greatest fucking stuffing ever. She puts sausage in it, and she puts a shitload of sausage in it. And she only cooks it like once a year for Thanksgiving. And it's great because she makes a shitload, and my brother doesn't eat it. So I get all the leftovers. So
take it home and nuke it for weeks on end.
And, dude, for like the next 4 days after Thanksgiving, stuffing with shitload of gravy.
Fire in the hole.
Yeah, so Thanksgiving. But this is the true story of Thanksgiving.
Yeah, and this is what you won't... This is... I have a major gripe with the education system, and to even start on it now, it's a waste of everybody's time.
Yeah, just we'll put that in the file for one of those special shows.
Yeah, and my sister's a teacher, so
my
sister-in-law is a teacher.
Mm-hmm.
So we're both kind of in this weird spot where we could have an argument with somebody that's in it, and they can sit there all day long and tell how we're wrong and we don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But this goes into it. The history books are written and changed, depending on what group wants things changed. Tucker Carlson, who I'm not a supporter of, so please don't pay any attention to that. But he did a documentary a couple of years ago on the education system and on who writes the books and on the special interest groups. In the books, like, you can't say man did this or this guy did this, then man thought this. It's people. Across the board in all books now, it's people because the women's movement attacked them.
Okay.
9/11's explanation in the history books now, because now it's in our history books because now enough time has passed. They don't say Muslim radicals did it. Nothing about Muslim anything is in it.
What do they say?
I didn't read it, so and the way that they explained it on what I was listening to, I literally heard this morning. So again, we're getting back to Thanksgiving. This is what I have prepared. Right. But they don't explain it as Muslim radicals. It's the Muslim movement in the United States went after them and said, "You're making us look bad." That's what happened. Right. That's history. Anything you read that's historic anymore is bullshit. It's all bullshit.
Going back to the original times, the winners write history.
Right. Everything's corrupt.
Right. Now, back in the day, now we're in the information age, where once information is out there, the winner can't destroy all that information.
It's encapsulated now.
But 2,000 years ago, up until 20 years ago, the winners could destroy everything of the loser's evidence and paint their own story, their own picture of it.
Right.
I mean, the Crusades are probably the most famous of. They just wiped out the other side of the story and said,
"Right,
this is our side of the story."
No, the story.
Yeah, this is the story. Exactly. That's why there's books missing from the Bible, because they decided 300
I love
years
that story
later.
too, and I like when you talk to religious people. And like a favorite question of mine to ask now is, "What's your favorite book that got deleted from the Bible?"
Right.
They go, "What are you talking about?" Like, they give me like the and then I say, "Well, just look it up." Read the ones, because you can't really read them. But yeah, I tee them up with some random thoughts. And I never get any feedback, and I never get anything coming back to me. But look it up.
I do the same thing. My starting point, my point that I always point people to is I always say, go to Google and type in Council of Nicaea. Nicea.
Yeah, start there.
Anybody out there right now that believes in the Bible, just go to Google, type in Council of Nicaea, and start reading.
Yeah,
you'll be like,
shocked.
Wait a minute. 300 years after his death, they got together and decided what the Bible was going to be? Yeah, that really happened.
Yeah.
300 years.
And then about 100 years later, that's when they started wiping out chapters. Is that the case? About 100 years later?
Yeah.
So anyway,
the true story of Thanksgiving.
Yeah,
getting back to
Thanksgiving was not this time where, the Pilgrims and the Indians all sat down. Christopher Columbus is a scumbag.
Right.
And
he's not even close to being the first person to discover America.
Right, but I'm just tying him to the whole... He's a scumbag, and we celebrate him in schools like he's a big deal. He's almost a president. Like, he's a big deal.
He discovered America.
He discovered America. Yeah, and it goes on and on. But the true story of Thanksgiving is not. We didn't sit around and have dinner and parade. Celebrate.
Hey.
We spread smallpox, and we killed all the buffalo because that was their main food source, and we completely wiped them out. And if you ask any Native American Indians, they gather on Thanksgiving in sorrow. It's a major event and on Plymouth Rock and yada yada wee. So here's a story. It's kind of a long story, so I'm just going to kind of like paraphrase as I go. The idea of American Thanksgiving feast is fairly recent fiction. The partnership of the 17th century European pilgrims and New England Indians sharing a celebration meal appears to be less than 120 years old, and it was only after the First World War that a version of such Indian partnership took hold in elementary schools across the American landscape. You gonna say something?
Nope.
Oh, I thought you were grabbing the mic. I thought you had a point. We could thank the invention of textbooks and their mass purchase by public schools for embedding this Thanksgiving image in our modern minds. It was, of course, a complete invention and clearly created slice of culture propaganda. The first Thanksgiving Day did occur in the year 1637. So. Jesus, it's weird. It's like when you actually put a date on something and you can really multiply the date to this date, to really think about the time frame to think about it. I mean, that's, it's not that long ago. It really isn't that long ago on the grand scheme of the whole world.
I suppose, but it's still a long
it's centuries ago, and even really, that's why it's going to be so cool to think 300 years or 300 plus years from now, what the technology age is going to have, because literally in 1637 they had nothing.
Right. I would love
bow and arrows.
I would love to just fall asleep and wake up 45 years from now
Yes.
and see what life is going to be like.
Yes, agreed. So it's just interesting. But it was nothing like our Thanksgiving Day today. The day Massachusetts Colony Governor John Winthrop proclaimed such a Thanksgiving to celebrate the safe return of a band of heavily armed hunters and colonial volunteers. This day is still remembered today, 373 years later. No, it's been long forgotten by white people, by European Christians, but it's still fresh in the minds of many Indians. A group called themselves the United American Indians of New England meet each year at Plymouth Rock on Coal Hill for what they do as a day of mourning. They don't call it Thanksgiving, they call it a day of mourning. They gather at the feet of the statue of the chief, Indian name, of the Wampanoag to remember. Like I don't even give a shit. Like I'm like memorializing them, and I'm just shitting on like the one thing that they actually memorialize. So I'm sorry. Read the story for yourself.
What a dick.
You guys have Google. Just do this yourself. They do not call it Thanksgiving. There is no football game afterwards. I'm just trying to paraphrase it because, like I said, this is a long thing, but you get the idea. The idea is that
let's post the story on our Facebook so people can go read it. But it's just another thing that it spawns a different conversation, which is the education system. We're not teaching the truth. Ultimately, we're teaching the winner's history.
Right.
You know, it's
they don't tell you in school, and it would be a great lesson that we came here and we literally soaked their blankets in smallpox. And said, "Oh, you're cold? Oh, here's some blankets."
Right.
And they were like, "Oh shit, awesome!" And they cuddled up with them. And like I said, we wiped out the buffalo, which was the only food source, really.
Sure.
And they were fucked.
Right. There's a couple weeks ago there was an article that came out. I think I want to say the Gap or somebody used the phrase "manifest destiny" in one of their advertising campaigns.
Yeah, that's actually one of Mark Dice's books.
Yeah. Do you know what that really means? Manifest destiny.
Go ahead, explain it.
Manifest destiny it was a phrase used for the idea that as Europeans, it was our right to expand and claim the land of North America as much as we wanted it, and by any means necessary.
That's why the power elite today follow the same script. They follow the same ideologies. It's the same network of good old boys.
Right.
It truly is. That network has never canceled. Did you ever hear the story that all the presidents are tied to the same bloodline? Have you ever ventured down that rabbit hole before?
I have. I know of it. I've never really done a lot of research on it.
I haven't either, and I was kind of hoping you did to make the story a little better.
Yeah.
But when you look into everybody that's in power is tied to Europe. It's
right.
You can trace them back through marriage,
and that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, well, ultimately,
that's where we came from.
That's where
right.
we came from, right? But it's really odd that even like a black man like Obama is tied to these same power elite. It's just, it's weird to think, especially when you know what's known as far as you're picked from a very young age to be this, that, or the other thing. It's
But going back to Manifest Destiny, it's funny because this advertising campaign, this clothing company, they just thought Manifest Destiny, and there's a company that's no longer running anymore, VWAA, that was a wrestling company around here. Their big show every year was Manifest Destiny. When I read the story, I was like, Manifest Destiny, isn't there a show around here that's wrong with that? So I go on Facebook, I hit up a couple of people that I knew that were associated with VWAA, and I said, did you realize that you've been calling this for years? And that's exactly what was the response.
Oh, really? Yeah,
no. Lamar Titan is a really talented young wrestler that wrestles for them, and he was shocked. He was like, "I'm actually kind of offended. I'm sorry we even use it. I didn't know anything about it."
I will pat him on the back that they didn't call the thing War Games or you know what I mean?
Right.
Money,
Survival mania.
Money in our bank.
Ugh.
You know.
But yeah, no. It manifests the whole story of how we came to be here in North America is an interesting story that isn't exactly taught the way it really happened.
We wiped out a race of people. We're no different than Hitler. We're no different than wiping out the Jews. We wiped out.
There's a reason why they get special consideration for things like casinos,
right?
Reservations.
Which, by the way,
feel bad.
That's being taken from them now too.
Yeah.
Do you see in McHenry alone now? There's gambling machines in the bars. Each bar gets like 2 slot machine deals.
Dude, I'm telling you, Europe is way ahead of the curve on this.
Well, no shit, they're centuries ahead of us.
Right. They're way ahead of the curve on this because there's a couple of listeners. Our boy from Germany, and then another guy, Jack Crow from, James Ryder, the guy from Pro Wrestling Hall of Shame.
Correct.
They both live in Europe, and so they're always hitting me up for gambling because I'm gambling a lot, and we're always talking back and forth. And there, not only can you gamble anywhere. They have literally stores on every corner. You can just go in the parlor and put your bets on for the day. But you can gamble on professional wrestling.
That's insane.
He sent me a link that you could bet on the results of the pay-per-view.
It's a work.
I can't believe that. If I'm a WWE
crazy.
employee, I'm finding a website and I'm finding someone in Europe